So, good afternoon and good morning, everyone. We're really looking forward to starting this webinar on Colombia Connections. What we're going to do, guys, is just wait until about 2 minutes past 4 local time. I'm in the UK, and then we'll kick off. So, we really appreciate your time. So for those joining us, thanks again. We really appreciate your time. We're going to kick off in a couple of minutes. We're excited to be here and look at how we can look at tools and tactics for smarter student recruitment from Colombia. So that's the objective of the session. I'm going to kick off in 1 minute. Okay, bienvenido to everyone and welcome to our Colombia Connections webinar. We're really excited to be here and have the opportunity to talk, of course, all things Colombia. As with previous webinars, it's going to take the form of a podcast. So I'm delighted to have two of our senior leadership team here who will introduce themselves briefly, Juliana and Rafael. And it's going to take the form of questions and answers. So we like to make it as interactive as possible. As far as questions that you have, then we'd be delighted to answer those questions. But maybe you could put them into the chat box. And then, of course, we'll have 5 minutes or so at the end to pick a few of those questions. So the main objective of today is really to look at tools and tactics for smart student recruitment from Colombia. This goes hand in hand with our latest report, which is available from the website, and I'll send a link at the end of this session. So, of course, Colombia, as many of you know, is really special to me. I spent nearly 14 years in Colombia, so I'm very passionate about Colombia and excited to be able to kick off. So before we kick off, then Juliana and Rafael are just going to take a few seconds each to introduce themselves. And then we've got 6 questions that we're going to kind of answer. And we really hope that these will be, of course, very useful to you and you'll be able to use them in your day-to-day activities when working in Colombia. Okay, guys, so Juliana, how are you today?
Great, Simon. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Well, so just speaking about me, my full name is Juliana Gómez, and I'm working in EdCo since 2022, and I am a senior partner manager since 2024, and I manage a portfolio of different partners based in the UK, Ireland, Canada, now Germany, and New Zealand. And I'm passionate about international higher education, as I strongly believe in its power, like to create life-changing opportunities for students, but also for their families. Thank you.
Fantastic. Rafael, over to you. If you could just give a quick presentation, introduce yourself briefly.
Thank you, Simon. I am also very excited to be here, sharing our insights about Colombia, and hopefully we can help you with more ideas to succeed in the Colombian market. That, as you say, is a very important market, but also very different. So we will be very happy to share some ideas with you today. Well, my full name is Rafael Minauro. I am a senior manager at EdCo Latam, and I've been with EdCo for 2 years, but I've been general in education for more than 12 years. Some kind of an old person in the system. I've been working with institutions mainly from the UK and Canada, but I've also been working with some institutions in Europe. I entered the industry many years ago teaching part-time, and then I went immediately into recruiting, and this is what I love to do for my professional life. I've been living in Colombia for 13 years, but I'm not Colombian, I'm Peruvian. Many people think I'm Colombian because I've been here forever, But being Peruvian gives me a very good view because it is very similar to Colombia, but also has certain differences. So I feel an insider, but also I feel I have a different view from Colombia.
Thank you very much, guys. So we're going to get started. We've limited the time of 4 minutes to each of the questions. And we feel that everyone will get the most out of that because we're going to look at kind of multiple different areas. Each of them will help you with obviously your recruitment activities in Colombia. So Juliana, first of all, what makes Colombia different from other Latin markets? So Juliana, from your experience, what makes Colombian students and families unique? How does this influence how they choose where to study?
Well, so there are different things, but I will just mention a couple of them. I will start saying that there is a strong cultural value placed on education as a pathway to social mobility. So we're talking that Colombia is an aspirational driven market. So we need to take that into consideration. So students are often seeking for international exposure, and because this improves the career outcomes and like global employability, right? This is a difference, but also it is important that to know that international mobility has highly influenced the Colombian society. So I'm not talking just about education, but in different kind of ways Colombians used to immigrate. And this also has helped shaping students who are globally curious, adaptable, and highly motivated to pursue international opportunities through higher education. That is the topic that concerns us today, right? And there is also important to understand the role that Colombian families play as an advisory kind of parties when taking decisions on going abroad, even for postgraduate students. I would say we can see in Colombia less involvement that we see in Mexico, but still, like families, they play a crucial role in the decision-making process. And finally, I would say that Colombia is a relationship-driven market. So students are often looking for programs that like they have high quality, but they're more evaluating how they feel welcome by an institution, how they feel supported by someone, and guide them through the process. The relationship approach is not just limited to recruitment, but it's actually very embedded into the Colombian culture and the way of doing business overall. So I would say that makes a difference. I have a quick example, Simon, if you let me. I had a student. He was very interested in going to one of our partner institutions. I had 2 virtual meetings with this student, and the student was hesitant about applying. And he was going for a postgraduate like program, right? Then when we have the second call, the student told me that his mom was visiting the city. We lived in the same city. His parents were divorced, but they accepted a meeting with me, but in person. I proposed a meeting in person. We went for coffee to a Juan Valdez coffee shop. I had the meeting with the parents, and they were so glad that they had the chance to meet me because that was how they started to build in trust in the process in me. And we talked about everything: finance, financial readiness, cultural stuff. And at the end, and after that meeting, student ended up applying and enrolling in 2024. So that's a very useful example on how we build relationships and how parents and families are involved into these processes.
Thank you, Juliana. That's amazing. A really great answer and lots of useful tips. So moving on to Rafael. So student demand and program trends, Rafael. Based on what you're seeing on the ground, what study levels and subject areas are currently most in demand among Colombian students?
Thank you, Simon. You know, in EdCo, we keep very good records of our students' interest. And I can let you know that Colombia is a little bit more a postgraduate than an undergraduate country. Roughly 55% to 56% of our students go to postgraduate, and 44% of them go to undergraduate. So there is still more students in postgraduate. However, if we see the inquiries, we see that we have more inquiries for undergraduate than from postgraduate. 53 of the inquiries came from undergraduate, and 48 47 came from postgraduate. So basically, what we can say is that postgraduate has a very good position in the Colombian system. However, we see a lot of interest in undergraduate, and we can see that the number is growing. Maybe for the Colombian culture, as Juliana was saying, family is very important in the decision, and sometimes families might understand that a student who is 17 or 18 years old might be still too young to start studies abroad by themselves. So sometimes our undergraduate students can be a little bit older, maybe 19, 20 years old after they study with us. But the total numbers show us as a conclusion that postgraduate is the most important program, and undergraduate has still a lot of potential. You also asked me about the fields of study, and that is something that has been very clear for Colombia in the years we've been keeping these records. I have separated in undergraduate and postgraduate. In undergraduate, we can see that the biggest area, the top area, is business. Basically, business management, accounting, finance, and economics. It is normal because this is a very global area, and the students in business usually pursue international studies. We also see interesting numbers in 4 other areas: international relations and politics. International relations is a very big career in Colombia, most than in any other Latin American countries. We see a 3rd area in health, psychology, biology, biomedical sciences. We also see a growing interest in engineering and also in arts, basically film, music, and arts, which are very important areas for Colombia. Colombia is known for creativity and for the cultural industries. And we also see a very interesting growing number of students in film, music, and arts. That is in undergraduate. And in postgraduate, we can see not so different patterns. We see that the top area for undergraduate is business and management, including accounting and finance. And of course, same reason, international students usually seek global areas, and business is by far the most global area we can find in education. But we also see a growing trend in social sciences, law, international relations, politics, education. This is a very important area for our Colombian postgraduate students. The 3rd area, I think is pretty obvious, and maybe you are guessing where they are. It's technology, including artificial intelligence, data science, computer science, software, video game, all the areas related with technology. Other important areas also growing in Colombia are architecture and construction, environment and sustainability. And we see a very good pattern in the last 2 or 3 years related with health, including pharmacy, cosmetic science, all of the areas related to pharmacy. So I can say these are the most important topics for Colombian students. We have other considerations, Simon, when we think about students and areas, of course, and it's the level of English that we are finding in Colombian students. And we can say that according to our appreciation after visiting schools, visiting partners, visiting other stakeholders, we can see that the number of students complying with English requirements is every time higher. So we are very excited about the opportunities for the following years. We also see some interest in short courses, some students asking for shorter courses, not masters, but shorter courses. But at the end, we also see that this interest is not as strong along the process, because they see that the return on investment of short courses cannot be compared to the return on investment for longer courses such as masters, which are the preferred program when they think of studying abroad. So we feel that this combination of strong interest in some areas, the improvement of the English readiness level, and the growth of interest in masters configure a very positive situation for Colombia in the following years. So we are very excited about what might happen in the following 2 or 3 years regarding the number of Colombian students.
I think you're muted, Simon. Again.
I'm really sorry, guys. Thank you for that, Rafael. That was great information. So price sensitivity, we understand that Latin America in general does have an element of this to it, of course, as we're aware. So Juliana, how would students normally fund their studies? What advice can you give here? Thank you.
Great question, Simon. So as any other country, this is a matter of concern for sure. So I will start talking about personal savings. This is part of the funding. So personal savings like reflect the strong cultural value Colombia's put on education. And this is very common nowadays that parents start saving from very, very early stages on their children's lives. So parents are purchasing this educational insurance when they can secure future educational opportunities for their kids. So at the end, where they purchase the insurance, the kid can study at any destination that they like to. And there is part of personal savings as a long-term project for families, but we can also find educational loans. So in Colombia, we have two main entities. One is EdCo, which is a government entity. So this organization funds postgraduate studies mainly. And we also have Colfuturo, which is a nonprofit organization that finances up to 50,000 USD. And up to 80% of this loan can be converted into a scholarship if certain conditions are being met, like the student returns to the country, find a job in the public sector or in educational sector, and all other conditions. Additionally, these two organizations, EdCo and Colfuturo, they have like specific agreements with some universities where they can provide additional scholarship and funding support. So the institutions can like emphasize and incentivize students like coming to them. There is also something important about that Colombians usually, as in any other country, we have a mixture of both personal savings, but also educational loans. And I'd like to point out that Colombians would like to pay in installments. So we like installment payment plans. And it's not only for education. I'd like to also emphasize this is for almost everything that we pay for. We pay in installments. This so actually merged to our culture. And the students like to have like flexible installment plans for the tuition fee. So these payments are distributed across the academic period. And in addition to this, Colombians are really looking into have scholarship opportunities. Even partial scholarship awards can actually make a difference, and they have a high impact in the market because this is perceived as not only just a financial or economical incentive, but also it is a commitment from the institution that recognizes like the student potential. So it actually is a good way forward. So based on this, students are often seeking for programs that combines both, like of course quality, but also post-graduation outcomes. What are they're gonna get after they graduate, because this justifies like this high investment, this long-term commitment from families. And of course, this is transitioning into return on the investments. And when we are selling education, we should emphasize more than like rankings and quality, which are important, but we should really emphasize on the outcomes on these programs. And we also need to be communicating like clearly and transparently, like funding options and opportunity depending on the country. In this case is Colombia. And it is highly recommended to emphasize on post-graduation opportunities and benefits. This actually makes the whole difference
Probably listen.
We're funding the students, the studies.
Thank you, Juliana. Fantastic. So moving on to employability, Rafael, when Colombian students are comparing destinations and institutions, what messaging around employability outcomes experience resonates, and what should institutions avoid?
Yes, Simon, you are indeed going to a very important subject for our future students, because career outcomes are becoming probably the most important factor for decision. There's a first difference we find with Colombian students, which is that usually international institutions target young students starting careers, and Colombian postgraduate students are usually more mature. They have some year of experience. Typically, they have 5 to 7 years of working experience. So they are looking to improve their careers. They're not looking to start a career. So sometimes we feel that generic messages from some universities are for younger audiences. So this is the first difference. Our students are mature, they have experience, they already did some important things in their working careers, and they are looking for different experiences. So the strongest message we can see is global employability. Some of them might be interested in returning to Colombia after studying. Some of them would like to explore some working opportunities abroad. Whichever is their choice, they are looking for global employability abilities, and they want some kind of guarantee that they are developing the right employability skills. They want to have the evidence that they will have not only the academic support, which is something that can be very obvious, but they are also looking for messages that they will receive the right support from their universities, also from their institutions, from the country. So it is very important to include the return of investment in our storytelling, to let them know success cases that we select and engage with the relevant student ambassadors, to let them know that it is possible to have successful careers, that it is possible to use the knowledge in real working scenarios. So within this frame, we can do many things to do this. Of course, the first thing is to have clear information, both about postgraduate working opportunities in the country where they are planning to go, and of course to make sure these postgraduate opportunities are aligned with the institution's support for career planning, for job search. Sometimes we feel that some students are only interested in job search in a department in the university that will allow them to search or to apply for jobs, and this of course is very important, but we feel that they are very well impressed when they feel that this department will not only bring job opportunities, they will also give career guidance, career coaching, they will let them explore different career opportunities, they will allow them to make internships, either they are very short or long term. It is very important for them to have this all alignment, meaning basically the opportunities that the country can give and the opportunities that the university can support within their professional development. And of course there are things that sometimes institutions do and we have to avoid, because they give maybe a wrong message, but sometimes also a misleading message, which is even worse. For example, using rankings that are not relevant for Latin American or Colombian students, meaning using accreditations that are not well known, that they might distract the students, or sharing information of unknown partners, maybe business partners that are not aligned with the expectations of a Latin American country. And of course generic content, which was the beginning of this part, which is sharing information that is mainly targeting younger audiences and not the mature 27 to 30 years old Colombian students interested in boosting his or her career.
Thanks, Rafael. Fantastic. And again, a really good kind of summary and a lot to fit in. So really appreciate it. Juliana, agencies, we understand, any of us that have worked in Colombia, of course, we understand the importance of agencies. So agency and partnerships. What role do agencies play in the student decision-making process in Colombia?
Well, so that's a very good question, actually, that we can review a fact that is stated in the Colombian Connections report that you mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, and that we invite everyone to download it from our website, where we are showing data that in Latin America, Colombia is the most agent-driven market, with 60% of the enrollments coming from agencies rather than direct channels. So this is like saying something very important, that agencies are playing a critical role in the recruitment landscape. So there is also a fact that I need to mention to the audience today, and it is that this agency landscape is very fragmented. So we have small and medium-sized agencies operating through trusted local networks, and because of this, sometimes it is becoming challenging identifying the right partners. Institutions can take many resources and time identifying these partners and investing much time and resources in some partnerships that at the end are not delivering the outcomes that were expected. And this is why it is so important to actually select the good partners through data-driven processes and approach. And this is why at EdCo, we are very data-driven, and we help our partners like navigating this difficult agency landscape by providing not only quantitative data, we have conversion trends, applications versus enrollments. We have different year-on-year data, but we also provide qualitative data. This data is coming from the market intelligence we do and the ongoing relationship that we have through the partnerships and the work that the partner managers do on the ground every day. And that has helped us identifying which agencies are performing good, which agencies are reliable, and they could be a good fit for different markets because it's not the same market or agencies that could be working for the UK and Canada, for instance. So this data has helped us identifying the right fit for the partners. And it is good to say that success often depends not just in the number of agencies, but more in the quality of the partnerships, because even reducing the number of agencies is good, as it also help us like reducing the administrative complexity. So it is good to manage like a balanced number of agencies in the network and try to increase engagement. That actually is what delivers the outcomes that we are expecting from this type of collaborations.
Thanks very much, Juliana. So we have about 10 minutes left, and we have 3 question areas, and then of course we have some time for some questions at the end. So Rafael, just to summarize in a few minutes then, this is a new area, digital behavior and the student journey, which is really interesting. So Rafael, how do Colombian students research and engage with institutions online? What digital tactics actually help convert interest into applications?
Thank you very much, Simon. We see that Colombian students or potential students use technology as a strong recruitment tool. However, there are other channels than technology, but we would like to share some ideas of what they use, how they use it, in what stage of their process they use each tool. So basically, we can say that Instagram and TikTok are fundamental for brand awareness in the Colombian system. You know that TikTok has become one of the fastest growing platforms in Colombia with over 20 million users. Instagram is also around 20 million users. The students that are usually 18 to 25 years old are more TikTok users, and those who are 25 to 30 or 32 are more Instagram users. And it is very important to use them to reach large audiences, because this is the way they use to learn about institutions, to discover new institutions, to express their interest, to look institutions that are aligned with their professional interests. So they like reels, short videos. They love content showcasing student life, alumni stories, and these platforms usually generate high traffic, but they are not the best options to generate leads. They might generate some leads, but I think they're not the best way to generate leads. You know, Simon, Juli and I usually discuss about these topics, and I think Juli would also like to let us know some other ideas about what we did in EdCo Engage, for example, and how students use Google search and Google Ads.
Yes, definitely. So we have our own like EdCo Engage initiative, which is exploring Instagram and TikTok as a platforms for collecting leads. So we have around 1,100 followers in Instagram and around 316 on TikTok. And we just started this as a pilot to start collecting leads. And as Rafa was mentioning, the lead quality is quite not that impressive, but we're still like insisting in these type of projects because it give us or give our partners like real exposure, and it creates high engagement with prospective and young applicants. But on the other side, if you'd like to have like more qualified leads, so we highly recommend relying on Google search and Google Ads, where you can get lower volume or like lower traffic, but you can have like high intent students, like they are down the funnel because they're actively looking for programs, tuition fees, scholarship opportunities. So they really are genuine like program seekers. And about Google, like Google search, especially Google ads, I would point out that the average conversion rate from these campaigns are around 11.4%. This means that it is very useful because we are converting the leads that are being generated by the pay ads, right? Different than Instagram and TikTok, that they're just more like informative and to share like cool content, but not to convert students.
Thanks very much, Juliana. So we've got a couple of question areas left, and the penultimate one is building trust with students and families. So trust is, of course, critical in Colombia as it is in any country. What practical steps can institutions take to build credibility and long-term relationships with students and their families? Juliana, thank you.
Well, so I would say that first of all, students often like try to answer these questions, but they forget that the website is the first point of contact of a student and their family, so it generates credibility or not. And it is very important that this information on the website is accurate, transparent, and consistently updated, because what we are talking about admission requirements, tuition fees, scholarships, and career outcomes. This is what students are clearly looking for. And also, if we have an in-country representative, there is a way of adding credibility to the the job that the people based on the ground is doing. Otherwise, I can be telling that I am representing an institution, but if this information is not on the website, it won't actually generate credibility. It is highly recommended that the website is constantly updated, because sometimes information can be inconsistent or outdated, and this could jeopardize like the whole process. I have actually an example on that, which is a good example or how institutions should behave, but that actually has happened. We had a partner that has certain information about tuition fees on their website. And when the student like received the letter of acceptance, the tuition fees change. And this actually was a big issue for the institutions, because this was an agented student, and this negatively impact the image of the agent as well. And the student was complaining about this misleading information. At the end, the student ended up canceling the enrollment, and the agent relationship was damaged, because also this affected the agent directly. And this is how important it is to really have up-to-date information and transparent and clearly communicate this type of sensitive information to students. Well, I would say another activity that is important is leveraging the local communication channels and the in-country support. So our partners and the people who's joining us today, you know that EdCo offers in-country representations. So this is very important, so the institutions can actually have a direct like point of contact who is cultural aware what's happening in the country, and we provide underground support, right? So these also like strengthens like the engagement between students, the university, and the families that are involved in this process. The in-country representative also has like direct involvement with the student through social media and communication platforms, such, for instance, WhatsApp, which is one of our main communication channels that is very used in Colombia. Like 91.9% of Colombians interact through WhatsApp. So we do that to generate engagement and credibility. And it's also very important to have someone speaking Spanish on the ground, because sometimes families, especially parents, they don't speak English, so they need like someone that can communicate with the local language. I would say that it is also important to create meaningful engagement opportunities, because sometimes we just, universities, they used to go to these large fairs and events and just meeting the students, but they are leaving. So students don't don't take much out of this type of event. So we highly suggest that we do more one-to-one interactions, small like group sessions, bespoke events and meetings with students and families. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, we are a relationship-driven market. We need this touch. In the country, we need personalized interactions to build trust, of course, and this also enables like deeper conversations with the students and understand like their needs, expectations, what they're looking out of a program. Like every conversation is so meaningful, and this can increase conversion potential like that drastically. And finally, Simon, I would say that strengthened relationship through added value is very important. Like offering master classes. If you are talking about a program, so this program also needs a little bit of a taste of how the program is gonna look like in the future. So having in faculty persons like talking directly to the students, ambassadors, and also about like applying and making that a smooth process. Application fee waivers are very important for students. Sometimes the institutions ask why. I mean, you're still like applying, so you should be paying the fee, and that's understandable. But sometimes we like to be to feel special if we provide like these application fee waivers, particularly in events, in webinars that we're running. In Colombia, there is some like cultural kind of thing that we like discounts and we like to be treated as special people. This is so Colombian. If you go to anywhere in the world, you're always asking for discount. What are you gonna get? I'm buying. It's in all kinds of business. I'm buying one thing. What are you gonna give me for that thing I'm buying? So we're bargaining and we're always expecting to have financial benefit of our just regular transactions. So application fee waivers and partial scholarships are very like important in the Colombian cultural like mindset. So I would say yes, like have this cultural approach is very important for institutions to get to understand how we operate and what are our expectations here in Colombia.
Thanks, Julian. That's wonderful. So we've had some fantastic advice, I believe, from Rafael and Juliana. We're going to bring this to a close because we've got 5 minutes really before the end of the webinar to answer any questions. Before this, if everyone could click on that QR code, it would be really appreciated because it's just a quick survey on what you thought about today's webinar. And of course, anything that you feel we may have missed, as well as the positives, would be really appreciated by all of the team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that open actually. And then, so please, like I say, as many of you, if you can click on that QR code, and then we're going to go to questions. So I've got, so Rafael has actually been answering some of these questions. And I'm just going to pick, have you answered all of these questions, Rafael, or not?
There is one missing, Simon. Well, I just wanted to thank you all of those who are interacting in the chat, not only with questions, but also cheering for the Colombian team who is playing later today. So thank you for that. I have one question missing from Sam, asking what is drawing students to London over other parts of the UK. This is something difficult to answer because, of course, the EdCo experience will not match exactly the overall Colombian statistics. But when we see students preferring London over other parts of the UK, of course, the first concern is budget. They know London, but sometimes they don't understand what might be the budget differences. But when we see students interested in London, basically it's because of previous knowledge, because they have been in London, because they had previous educational experience, maybe in high school or exchange studies in universities, and this is the reason, in our experience, when students prefer London over other parts of the UK. But I don't see a pattern there really.
I mean, Sam, I noticed this obviously throughout the time I lived in Colombia, and it is true. And as Rafael says, we always feel, and I'm sure you found this, Sam, that in this experience we've had, there's a certain percentage of the market, maybe 30%, 35%, that actually go after the branded London institutions. As Rafael said, it's as much the name as the location, because there's institutions that have been very successful, throughout years and years because of the kind of agreements they've had with sponsorship bodies, because of reputation they've built. And it is like any other markets, it can be London centric. As Rafael also alluded to, lots of students have visited London, of course, been to study English previously, have family. As you know, Sam, and others, there's lots of Colombian communities as well around London. So if you look at kind of around the Elephant and Castle, and then if you look at kind of Brixton, you look at kind of Seven Sisters, there's lots of families, and that's why the parallel really is, we used to get a huge amount of Brazilian students we worked with university in Florida, and then because there was a huge amount of Brazilian families over there. So it's kind of a parallel. So I think it's a mix of things, Sam, but I can see Tom's underneath that. So Tom, there's some fantastic opportunities for Regents because, of course, that is based in London. So I think, are there any other questions? Vamos mi selección. That's great, Sam. I mean, obviously England and Colombia playing tonight. So obviously we're going to wish luck to both of those teams, especially in my household where I live with three Colombian women, my daughters and wives. So there you go. So Tom, I hope that's answered. I hope that's answered on Rafael's answered that. If not, then please shout out with any further question. And what do you think about participation in big education expos? I'm just going to check my watch. We've got a couple of minutes. So it's like, I'll answer that as well. Liliana, thank you for the question. It's really, again, big expos, we call them kind of blockbuster events, do have their place. But of course, it really depends on what your aims and objectives are and how new you are to the market, because we find these big events can be great in kind of building awareness, building branding. To be quite honest, sometimes we feel the conversion rate isn't quite as good as if you went to an agent event with an agency that you've built up a relationship, they understand the proposition. But you can have successful attendance at events. And again, what we tend to do with each of our institutions is have a marketing plan over a year. And we look at budgets, and we obviously then look at what events we can do within those budgets, and also what is going to really have the best return on investment, which is really, really important. So look, guys, I really wanted to thank you we really appreciate your support always. And are there any other final questions before we bring this to a close? Please, as I've said before, it would be fantastic if you could fill in the QR code with your thoughts there. Thanks so much, everyone. One new. Okay, thank you, Sam, Rafael. Okay, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.